Good afternoon, everybody. This is Sam Turgeon here with Sunlight Realty, and today I am very honored to have on my show here Ludwig Maxwell of Divinity Inspection Service. Ludwig and I have actually done quite a bit of business. When you go to contract, one of the first things that's going to happen is you're going to have some type of inspection. In the residential world, it's a home inspection. In the commercial world, it's building inspections. And since it's one of the first bridges that you're going to cross through the process, I thought it was very important to bring on an expert to kind of describe what that process looks like, what they're looking for, what the common deal killers are, stuff along those lines. So I'd like to introduce everybody to Ludwig. Ludwig, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, so we've done a lot of inspections together, and one of the things that I really wanted to talk about was what we see. I mean, some of the crazy things that we see. You've got to have a photo album that's just out of this world right now. So can you kind of just discuss both on the residential and the commercial, what are you looking for exactly when you do an inspection here in Florida?
Well, the biggest thing is that we have a major structural problem. Some of the structural can be a deal killer, or they can be a major problem. So we're looking for the big stuff first.
And what kind of big stuff do you actually see out there in the field? What are we actually seeing out there right now?
I'll just go back to one I did about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Had a seawall with it. The marine contractor did not observe the home with the seawall. He only observed the seawall and said, "Oh, it's in great shape." But the problem is the seawall moved 6 inches. The pump house next to the seawall had huge cracks that I can stick my hand in. So everybody said, no big deal. The problem is there's a metal roof connected from that pump house to the entire home. So as the seawall moved, it was pulling the house with it.
Wow, that's scary.
Yes.
Some of the other properties that you and I have inspected personally, we've seen a lot of settlement. A lot of people get nervous about settlement. They start seeing cracks, especially in a concrete block structure. Can you speak to that about, when should you be worried about settlement cracks?
When they're large enough, you can stick a quarter in a crack. You've got a problem. Mm-hmm. Or 2 walls that is sitting like this, and all of a sudden move that way, and you've got a big old gap. So that's telling you got a bigger problem going on.
Gotcha. Several years ago, when we first started working together, we saw several properties that had defective drywall, otherwise known as Chinese drywall. Are you still seeing a lot of that out there right now?
There's still a little bit of it out there.
Okay.
Some of the townhomes, they'll take care of 1 unit. Mm-hmm. There might be another unit that may still have it. So the gases are they're transferring from 1 unit to another. And then we have, if you open up electrical panel and you see all the wires are black, that might not be Chinese drywall. It has to do with the underground service. So you got to remember, Chinese drywall was made from shallow well water. So you can have a similar situation with a underground service leaking gases back into your home. So people get confused. What is the real problem?
Okay. So what happens with Chinese drywall? I know some of the stuff that we've looked at, we see all the metal components inside the house are excessively corroded. How big of a danger is that to somebody that is looking at one of these properties?
It's a big danger. They're not sure about the health side, but let's just take it from the drywall out. Mm-hmm. When it starts getting corrosive, the screws will rust, the drywall can fall off, all the metal components in the home will start corroding. So if you're looking underneath the sink and you're looking at valves, they are rusted, corroded, black. It typically starts with the higher humidity areas, bathrooms, kitchen, then it starts wandering out to the rest of the home.
How prevalent, one of the other questions that we are asked, especially by people that are moving in from out of state, because they see these sensational stories online and in the news about sinkholes. How serious of a situation is that here? Now, we operate mostly in the Pasco and Hillsborough County areas. How big of an issue is that for a lot of people? Can you just kind of describe
It's not. There? You can have a few areas. They're a hot spot. Mm-hmm. The problem with sinkholes, they don't just start overnight and you have this gigantic hole. It takes an average sinkhole anywhere from 5 to 8 years. So you're going to see parts of it as you go. I'll give you a good example on that. Is the one home a client wanted to buy. Every year they're redoing the ceiling because the cracks will keep opening. And she said she's lived there for about 5 years.
Okay.
So we said, well, there's a sinkhole here. And she goes, well, they keep fixing it, so it should be okay.
Maybe not. Yeah. So what's kind of, when we first looked at a couple of them, one of the things that you had pointed out is that as a sinkhole is occurring, and keep in mind, folks, these are not ultra common, but they are out there. And really the whole point of the discussion is to say, look, if you're going to buy a sizable piece of property and you have any suspicions, the bottom line is to protect your investment, and inspection really is an excellent idea. I would recommend it for every single person. It's definitely something you should do. But getting back to the sinkholes, as things progress with a sinkhole, like for example, you'll start seeing properties as they are, they're moving. You start seeing what's happening in the roof, for example. You had pointed that out. You were like, well, I have a big roof leak. And I pointed out several different, factors that we were facing in this house. There were some plumbing leaks. There was a roof leak. And there was a staggered staircase crack on the exterior corner. And I remember saying, hey, is this a major issue? And you kind of pointed out that, look, the reason why all of this is happening is because the building is essentially being pulled apart. And there was definitely a learning lesson on that one. That was something I did not know. And I am always appreciative because that actually was a house that we were looking to buy. So,
well, you remember where you thought the big problems were when I showed you the other part of the house where it actually starts. Mm-hmm. Then you can start tracing it back, and all of a sudden you see the whole picture. Like, oh my God!
Yeah. Yep. It's like a culmination of a lot of different symptoms that kind of point you in that direction. And it is something that it's kind of you don't experience these things up north. Now, granted, we operated up in Connecticut for many, many years. They have different issues up there than they have here. Radon being one of the biggest ones up there. We very rarely, if ever, run into that down here, even though it does exist here. But one of the things that is especially on the residential side, a couple questions that always seem to come up are the 4-point inspection and the wind mitigation inspection. Can you tell us what those are and why they're important to a home buyer here?
Yeah, let's just start with the money, wind mitigation.
Okay.
That allows a homeowner to get credits off of their insurance so they get a lower rate.
Okay.
Now, you have no clue where I'm sitting, but now can you tell me how wind resistant this building is that I'm in?
I cannot.
So there's 8 major category and 32 subcategory.
Wow.
So we have to look at all those items and see what it has. Hip roof, for example, gives you a better credit than somebody like a flat roof.
Okay.
Okay. Wind goes over a hip roof better than a flat roof. Flat roof has a shorter life, different materials, built different. The insurance company want to know how fortified that building is. Do you have straps, clips? How many nails?
Mhm.
I've seen homes with straps, but only one nail. They add more nails, they save $700 a year.
Wow.
The windows, doors, everything is part of the entire building. So when a storm comes, what is the weakest link? That's what the insurance company want to know.
I see.
And like adding a few extra nail could save you money. Now a 4-point is all about how insurable that home is.
Okay.
If you have leaking pipes, those are going to turn into a mold problem. Now you're not talking about a little leak, you're talking about a major problem. Now it's a health problem. So the insurance company wants to know, is there an electrical issue? Is there a plumbing issue? Is there a leaking roof? How old is that roof? All that is based on the condition of the home, that it gives the insurance company an idea what to charge you. If you take two homes, they're identical. One's an older roof than the other one, the newer one's going to get a better credit because it has the newer items, newer code. So if your AC is 25 years old, they know it's going to break. If you have a hot water tank that's 50 years old, there are a few still around. They have a glass tube. They're not made out of metal. But the insurance company want to know, what is my liability?
Okay.
And that's what a 4-point's all about. So when we write up a lot of stuff, roof leaks, a plumbing leak, majority of the stuff are simple to fix. Doesn't take a whole ton of money unless you have a bad roof.
That's true.
Okay?
Yep.
Which is a common thing in Florida here. Beautiful sunny. The sun just beats down on that roof all day long. So it wears it out.
And then after 4 p.m., you end up getting those afternoon rains in the summer season, and it just drops it really wears the roof out. Another thing that I noticed, especially when it comes to roof, is the number of people that have branches or palm fronds that are rubbing up against the roof. We've had several of those. I mean, and what happens when you have that kind of situation?
Make it very simple. Take your finger, keep rubbing it on your arm, and tell me when it becomes sore. I've seen brand new roof 6 months later, and this tree has wore a perfect groove into that roof.
Wow.
And it's leaking.
Crazy.
Okay? Yeah. So anytime you have something rubbing, just like your arm like that, you'll see the skin will be gone and you will be leaking.
Well put. Yeah, absolutely. That's funny. So what do you see, in getting back to the 4-point, for residents, it's so important that you understand when you're buying a house, this 4-point inspection, the issues that come up as a result of that will preclude you oftentimes from getting insurance. So these are the points that really need to be negotiated in order to keep the deal together. We often, as agents, will look for deals and what the deal killers are. 9 times out of 10, the deal killers are usually the roof. Number one, almost by far, always. And the second is always the air conditioning. And then, of course, you look inside and you look for GFI outlets, within 6 feet of water and those types of things. So you definitely want to keep your eyes open for these. When any of those items are flagged in a 4-point inspection, they have to be resolved prior to closing. Very rarely will you be able to get through that. So it's something that everybody needs to keep in the back of their mind when you're looking at a house. So now talk to me on the commercial side of things. When you do a commercial building inspection, how does that differ from what you see in a home, for example?
There's a small difference. They still have 4-point. We'd still do them on commercial. Sometimes the lender wants to know just the roof and just electric.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what type of building, some of the commercials might only have one sink. Then you'll get into a different type of building, a hairdresser place, and they may have 20 sinks.
Mm.
So it kind of varies a little bit from the type of business to what is actually being running out of it. A lot of them have been converted improperly. Some of them have added on rooms. They're temporary walls. You don't need permits for that.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll run electric through them. They'll run all kinds of stuff through that. And you got to remember, a 4-point is a good written 4-point will flag any problems that might prevent the homeowner from being able to collect on an issue they had. If they file homeowners insurance, property insurance claim, the adjuster comes out, oh, this is pre-existing condition, it's your problem.
Wow.
So if you write a proper 4-point and get those things resolved, the adjuster comes in, it's a new condition, you're covered.
Hmm. So you're actually saying that the insurance companies, if they detect something that should have been detected in a 4-point at the time of loss, you have the potential of having that claim denied. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. The new 4-point is all about water leaks.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if it's plumbing, roof, they'll ask you some electrical, but they ask you the AC, is it leaking? Because the common problems is water causes mold. Mold is the big expensive claims.
Hmm. I see. So right now, as you're tell me about your business. Now, granted, we've had this COVID situation that's been going on for the past couple months. How has that affected your business, and how has that affected what the inspection process looks like?
My business, it did not affect. We were slammed all the way through.
Hmm.
There were still a lot of deals on the table that agents just had to work through. But the problem is when we went out to do inspection, we had to find out, anyone there sick?
Mm-hmm.
Can we get in? Is it empty? A lot of homeowners said, no, we have to work from home.
Hmm.
We have to stay logged in to the system because I don't get paid. So if I'm online, I get paid.
I see. Hmm. We've also seen our volume really has not dropped off. In fact, I would say that COVID has probably prompted a lot of people to say, boy, our house is a little too small for our whole family.
Yeah.
You know, awfully tight quarters for a long period of time. Lots of people start looking for some upgrades. Well, as we start wrapping up, what I did want to ask is there anything else that you'd like to put out there that maybe I have not asked you that people should be looking at, either for a residential or commercial building? What should they be looking for? Anything else that you'd like to offer?
Your first time you look at anything should be from a distance. Like you mentioned earlier, when you see that roof caving in, you know you got a problem. If it looks like it hasn't been very well maintained, it's a good possibility inside was not maintained. Might be a pig with lipstick.
Hmm. You know, one thing that I would like to commend you for in all the years that we've worked together is that you tell it the way it is. you never some people they'll say, oh man, this property looks terrible, and God, you should run from this. And then other times they make big deals out of nothing. Other times I've seen inspectors just gloss right over pretty big issues. So I just wanted to say thank you. I do trust your opinion. I know that you're very careful not to, you choose your words carefully, especially when describing what the severity of a problem is. I think that's very, very important, especially when a buyer is, they're making a large investment and they want to know that they're getting a fair shake, and they also want to know that they're not buying a total limit. So I've always appreciated that, and the way that you operate. I do personally use your services when we buy and sell real estate, and I've always appreciated that, and I would have no problem in recommending your service. How would people go ahead and get a hold of you?
They can call my office. It's actually posted, let me see, right there.
Go ahead and read it. What are your numbers there?
The 727-289. Right here.
There you go. 8237. Got it.
Or this one.
Yep.
This is the main number.
Okay.
They can text to it, or my email is ludwig.dis@gmail.com.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And we have somebody at daytime and evening answer the phone, a live person you can talk to and ask them questions.
Beautiful. And I'll also add, as we finish up, the inspection reports that you deliver are very thorough, which I've always appreciated. And it also kind of breaks down what your major issues are versus what your honey to do type issues are, with your general maintenance and that kind of thing. But Ludwig, we really appreciate you being with us today, and hopefully that has answered lots of people's questions about what the inspection process looks like, what you're looking for. And I would recommend anybody that is looking for an inspection, give Ludwig a call. And best of luck to you, and thank you for your time.
Well, same way with Sam, the way you are with clients. I mean, it's unbelievable how you support them and how much you help them and how you kind of walk them through the process to make sure they're protected in all ways.
I appreciate that. I work very hard for those 5-star reviews on Google. So you earn every one of those. Thank you for recognizing that. Appreciate that.
Yep, you're always there on the inspections. You're wanting to know, you're hands-on, you're in the middle of it. You're not one of those absentee, just out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. That's the way you earn people's trust. You take good care of people. It always comes back to you. So, and that's why I'm glad to have you on our team. But Ludwig, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time, and best of luck to you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.